Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Speaking About Speaking with me, Jackie Goddard. And I am here alone this week because I wanted to share some learning with you and also share some news. That I will do towards the end of this half an hour session together. But to start with, I thought this week I'd talk about my actor training and how I use that to work with clients on their speaking and their presentation skills, because I think it's actually fundamental to everything that we do. And hopefully in the next 20 minutes or so, I will explain how that is so. But to start with, I would just like to say hello and welcome. And if you have any comments, if you have anything you'd like to say, anything you'd like to add, then please do put that in the comments and I will endeavour to answer as we go along. If you're watching the replay, you're also welcome to ask questions or leave a comment and I'll get back to you. Otherwise, it's interactive. I'm here live. The comments are open, so please do join in if you wish to. You will see in the comments already, I've put a link to my newsletter, which comes out fortnightly and is full of tips and techniques and other fantastic stuff to help you get in front of an audience, get comfortable and confident with what it is that you are speaking about. Also, there is a link to my free download, which is a sort of 12-page PDF of how you speak with confidence. It's kind of my speaking confidence 101, the ultimate guide. So if you'd like that totally free, then go get that from that link in the comments there. And otherwise, just sit back and listen and let me know if there's anything else that you need to ask or anything else you'd like to know. So I keep an eye on the comments and keep them coming in. And today I'm going to be talking to you about why an actor training is good for you. Now, this is something I wrote about years ago, a couple of years ago, but it's only really come back into my realm of in my sort of world because of the clients that I've been working with recently. And that's because I did a deep dive with my client Shelley Rostland, who did a talk for the You Are the Media Creator Day back in April. And she invited me back on her podcast to really have a talk about the process that I take my coaching clients through and what she took away from it and what she felt was beneficial. And in doing that, it really made me remember how much of my actor training I bring to the sessions that I have with my clients. So let me take you into a rehearsal room. So I was an actor. I did my acting training back in the sort of mid-90s. I got onto some stages. I didn't have a huge success as an actor. It's a tough job, especially if you want a family and you want your life to be your own. But I loved it. I did love the creativity of actually creating characters and bringing stories to life. I mainly did stage acting. I went off and I did some fringe theatre and went off to the Edinburgh Fringe, came back, brought a couple of new plays back to London and the London Fringe. And what was fantastic about that process of putting into practice everything that I'd learnt in my acting training, when you're doing a new play that has never been performed before, you really have to look deep into the actors and the characters and take on these characters that have never been played before. You have no idea of how another actor would portray this character believably. And so I was really reliant on the training that I'd had in order to do that. And as much as I didn't have, huge success as an actor, I really have taken all of that learning into my life. And so when you get into a rehearsal room, when you start rehearsing a play, you have the script, obviously. It's there in black and white. The playwright has written it. The screenwriter has written this story. It has characters that have evolved in the writer's head. But there's a lot, between the lines to iron out and for you to be ready and flexible enough to take on another character, inhabit another person's world. And so when you get into a rehearsal room with the other actors, the first thing you do is you warm up. And anybody that's been to my in-person speaker club, anybody that's been to an in-person or online workshop with me will know, clients too, that I always start a session with a warm-up. Now, this is all about freeing up your shoulders and your neck and your head and your whole body, warming it up so that you free yourself from the stress and the habits that you bring into the rehearsal room. So it's a way also, as well of sort of shaking off that stress and that tension, is to get rid of any kind of negativity or tension or anything that's sort of really restricting your flow. So you become flexible and you are able to take on more challenges just by actually moving. So rolling your shoulders, getting rid of all the tension that we hold up here in our shoulders and our neck and our back. Shaking off your hips and shaking your legs and stretching and really warming up and flexing all of those muscles so that you can inhabit somebody else's physicality when you're taking on a character. But for you in real life, if you are nervous or feeling a little bit tense when you walk into a space, whether it's a networking space, whether you're walking onto a stage for a presentation, into a conference room, whether you're sitting around a boardroom giving your ideas, make sure that before you walk into that space, you're nice and warmed up, you're nice and flexible. You have kind of gotten, you've left the tense, stressed you at the door and you've walked into that space feeling relaxed and warm and energized. But the warm-up is not just for your body. It's not just about the muscles in your body. Everything else that you use to speak is a muscle. It's formed of muscle. So they need working out just as much. So your face has, well, I did look this up, and apparently we have 43 muscles in our face, although there are other sites that say you have more than that. So 30 on each side of your face, 20 in your neck alone. So however many muscles it takes for you to smile, for you to frown, for you to speak, to express yourself, you need to work those muscles out. Your face needs also to be flexible. And again, if you are walking into a space, walking onto a stage, and your face isn't animated, then you can have, brought to mind resting bitch face then. So if you are in a space and there is no expression, and you're not using those muscles aren't warmed up, then it's difficult to express yourself when you're speaking to an audience. So make sure that you really work all of those muscles, that you warm up your cheeks, and you know, if you sort of stretch your mouth and make it small again, stretch it and make it small again, run your tongue around the inside of your cheeks and your lips to get everything moving in there, so that when you are speaking, you really are expressing, more expressive, bring your face alive. And then moving into your voice is also muscles. So your vocal cords are muscles. The apparatus that you use to breathe are all muscles. Your diaphragm, if you've heard of the term of diaphragmatic breathing, that's to do with the fact that your muscles, your diaphragm is the biggest muscle that sits at the bottom of your rib cage, and that when you breathe in actually flattens, which pushes your rib cage out, and alongside the intercostal muscles and your abdominal muscles, they give your lungs the fullest, the biggest amount of space possible to fill with air, which is, after all, what you need to speak. Speech is breath. So imagine that when you're breathing in, that you're giving your lungs are balloons. They're going to be filled with air. So use your abdominals, use your diaphragm, use your intercostal muscles, and just work them out regularly by doing those breathing exercises. I will put links to the breathing exercises, the pyramid breath or belly breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, into the notes afterwards, into the comments, so you can go and have a look at how you can do that. But again, everything that you do with your breath, with your voice, with your physicality is to do with muscles, and everything needs a regular work. So that's the first thing we do when we get into a rehearsal room, is have a really good workout and warm up. The second thing we then do is we play. Yeah, we make up stuff. We run around the room. We build our trust in each other by playing games. Now, drama games are something that people think actors do just because they're silly and they need to, just have fun, let off steam. I mean, and there is part of that in there. But what the games do is to really encourage the collaboration, and they build trust. And when you're an actor, if you're on stage with a group of people that you are relying on to tell this story, you're relying on them not to mess up, not to get you into a situation where you're going to look silly, you're going to lose your lines, not come in at the right time. You have to rely on each other in order to bring that performance together. So those games are a way of really building trust. And a lot of you out there will know that when you go and play football, when you play netball, hockey, whatever that game is, you're a team and you need to work together in order to make that performance, that match, the best that it possibly can be. So in order to do that, you need to start building connections, building relationships, and just feel the joy of working with other people. That's the joy of those games, is to really bring people together, bring you together as a team, build that trust amongst you, and really have fun with it. Improvisation is also a big part of that. I mean, improvisation is something that people kind of balk at, and nobody really wants to get involved when I mention the word improvisation. And as I say, those of you out there that have been to the in-person speaker club, and I have no intention of ever becoming an actor, find it a little bit uncomfortable sometimes to do the improvisation side of what I bring to my coaching. But it is fundamental. We improvise every single day. Every time we open our mouths, I don't have a script. I have some notes, but I don't have a script. What I'm doing now is improvising. Some people do find that a little bit frightening. But actually, when you think about how much we do improvise, we go to the shop, we speak to an assistant, we speak to our children and try to encourage them to eat their carrots. We turn up at the pub, we order a drink, we have a conversation with our friends. It's all improvisation. There's none of our life is scripted. So know that you are able to do it. And the more used to improvising you get, the easier it gets to walk into a networking space and have small talk, be curious, say yes and. There's a fantastic improvisation game called Yes and. And what it is that in a group of people, every sentence has to start with the words yes and. And what happens then is that there's no negativity. If you start a sentence with no but, you can automatically feel that sentence is going nowhere. It's going down. It's negative. No buts. Whereas if you say yes and, it opens up a whole world of possibilities and builds better connections, because people get excited when you say yes and, because it's adding, it's building on something, it's really developing something. So try the yes and game, give that a go at home with your kids, with your friends, whoever. Is just start working with yes and more than no but. Let yes and be your default rather than no but, because that's part of improvising and building relationships and being open and curious and becoming more confident, really. So, before we move on, we've got a question here from Richard. Lovely to see you, Richard. Do you ever wonder if in a networking space it can take a lot of that pressure and negativity off of your back to internally say, what can I offer to the room, making everything easier? Absolutely. And I think, it's how you walk into that space, isn't it, Richard? It's about the mindset you have. If you walk in thinking, I'm going to hate this, then you will. Was it Henry Ford that said, if you say you can, or if you say you can't, either way, you're right. So if you walk in saying you can't, then you won't ever be able to be comfortable in that space. But if you go in and you say, I can do this, I can be of value, what can I offer to the room? Then you're in with that yes and mindset, aren't you? So what can we do? What can I do? Yes, and what can I do? What can I add? Yeah, and I think that's really, really valid, Richard. Thank you. The next part of being in a rehearsal room is character. When we build characters as actors, we have to portray them honestly. You know, when I'm talk to people about being an actor, they automatically assume I'm a really good liar, and I'm not. I'm a terrible liar. But that's actually, when you're an actor, you need to be honest, and your audience will only believe the character you're portraying if you portray it as honestly as you possibly can. You need to become that person, not to play that person. You don't play at being somebody, you are somebody. And that's exactly the same in life, and that's exactly the same as how you should be in your everyday life, in your business, in your family, with your relationships, is be you. Don't play at being somebody else. But when you're looking at a character in a script, the playwright, the screenwriter has written a character that they have lived with for the whole time. You know, they have invented these people. But there's always a backstory, but it's not always written on the page. So as an actor, you have to delve into why that person is motivated to do what they do, what motivates them to react to the other characters in the way that they do. What's the subtext? What's written between the lines that actually isn't there in black and white? And that backstory is really, really important. It's that backstory that an actor has to come up with just by the clues that are given from the script. So it's not all written there. The whole life story isn't written there, but as an actor, you have to put yourself in their shoes. What kind of background did this character have? What motivates them to do what they do? What's their education? What's their family circumstances? What's their, where did they live? What is their background? Who are they? And it is exactly the same. It informs all of their other interactions with anybody else on the stage, anybody else in that story. It explains their behavior and their motivations. And it makes their character, it makes the character three-dimensional, makes them relatable and authentic. And that, in essence, is what makes them believable. And your backstory is unique to you. Nobody else has your backstory. Where you came from, where you were educated, how you were brought up, who you are is fundamental to you showing up authentically. So think about your backstory. It could motivate and validate other people in your work, in your social circles. It's a way of building connection, building rapport. It can create trust. And once you have confidence in yourself, then your self-esteem and outward confidence automatically is raised, because you know who you are. You've taken ownership of yourself, and you know where you've come from. You've taken ownership of your stories. So it's really, really important when you're looking at the character of yourself and other people, that you can see that they are self-aware, that they have a confidence that comes from knowing their backstory and taking ownership of it. And then we move on to the performance. The performance. So this is your talk. This could be your job. This could be your life. Your life is the culmination of all of these processes put together. So the warm-up, the exercise, the play and the character building, your voice, that you're using those muscles, exercising those muscles and using them regularly. That's really what's going to put together the best performance you possibly can, as I say, whether you're on stage or whether you're just walking into a networking space or into your family home. You know, once you have all of that worked out, then it's so much easier to be yourself and be comfortable and confident when you're speaking. So all of these things, when utilized properly, build confidence, resilience, empathy, and they enable you to focus. They then develop your listening and storytelling skills. They help with your self-expression, your creativity. They make you responsive, self-aware, engaging, relatable, all of these inspiring, all of these fabulous words. And they're attributes that are essential, not only to being a good actor, but being a professional speaker, but also a financial director, a gardener, a software engineer, a business coach, a nurse, blah, 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 fill in the blank. You know what I mean? It's all of these things come together. No matter what you do and in what walk of life you are in, then it's really important for you to bring all of these things together. the breathing exercises as an actor, the self-expression, the just playfulness of being an actor. It's all fundamental, and it's all how I work. It's how I worked with Shelley and all of my other clients to really get them comfortable with their content and taking ownership of their stories, so that when they're speaking to an audience, whether that is from a stage, then they're relatable. Then the audience, because it's always sharing those stories that are of benefit for the audience. So it's not about you as the speaker, it's about the audience. And as Richard picked up on there, if you walk into a space saying to yourself, it's not about me, it's about them. How can I bring value? What of my stories and my experiences can I bring to this room that is going to benefit the audience? That's what's important. And then one other thing I just wanted to touch on was I was reminded this week, again looking into this stuff, of a video I saw a few years back by a voice and I think I would say that she is a master voice teacher. She's been around for many, many years. Her name's Patsy Rodenberg. And she has taught all over the world. She is a multi-time author, and she talks about the second circle of energy. And again, this kind of relates back to that authenticity and really looking at yourself and who you are and owning your stories. And so she has this idea of 3 circles. So she in the video is talking to a group of acting students, and she's talking to them really about Shakespeare and the words we use and the presence of people on stage. And she relates how she's been in spaces with people and they've said, oh, you know, this actor has got it and this actor hasn't got it. Now, what is it? And actually what it is the energy and the presence. So how do you find that? How do you, as a person in your business, in your world, in your life, walk into a space and have that presence that people want to work with you, they want to be near you, they want to listen to you? Well, let me explain first of all the first circle. So the first circle of energy is when you're kind of talking to yourself. So it's a voice that looks inward. It's a stature that's kind of inward looking. So she explains it as kind of being in the past. You fall back on your voice. You kind of, you know, she says, you can say anything in this voice, and it's, you know, I really love you. It means nothing. It's going back into, you're saying that to yourself, really. It's a voice that you kind of, you swallow. It goes back into you, and so you don't get hurt, because everything is kind of lacking energy. It's the voice of the energy of kind of victimhood. So you're looking backwards into your past, and you're not taking ownership of those stories. You're not you're not being the best possible version of yourself because you're still living in the past. There's a fear of that vulnerability of being seen and shared into the world, and you're not comfortable with that. Therefore, your stature and your status is very inward looking. Your voice falls backwards. Hopefully that's understandable. So that's the first circle of energy, is very much looking inward and low energy, and looking into yourself, talking to yourself rather than talking outwards. And then the third circle is the complete opposite. Now, I've seen this in some politicians. Obviously, in the UK here, we've got an election coming up next week, and you can see it sometimes with politicians. It's a very outward energy, the energy that's of the future. It goes outwards. It's striding. It takes up your space. It's energy that goes outwards, but it's quite controlling. It demonstrates a kind of a superiority. It's about talking but not listening. So if you imagine like these big shakes, you know, there's a lot of Shakespearean characters that are very outward. They stride on the stage, and that's not necessarily the characters, maybe that is just the actors, but they stride onto the stage, they take up space, they want to be heard, they speak loudly. It's all outward, but it's not anything that's present. It's into the future, it's somewhere else. You know, it's talking, it's not listening. And then the second circle really comes into the present moment. It's the give and take of the present. It's the circle of survival. You know, you can't be in second circle. She says that we are all born into second circle. We are, and we kind of lose it as we grow older. But she says it's the circle of absolute intimacy, because I think it's the essence of absolute authenticity and being honest and truthful. And she uses the examples, which I find, she says she used to teach in high security prisons. So she used to teach drama and voice to prisoners, and she was obviously talking about this to them, and they said to her that they are always in the second circle, because they are always in the present. They can't be anywhere else, because it's survival mode. They can't go into themselves, and they can't be outward, because either or they won't survive in that prison environment. They have to be present at all times. They have to be on, you know, in the moment. And the other fantastic example she gives of being in the present is she was talking to a Kalahari bushman, and they were out in the bush and having, you know, she was obviously on a guided tour of some kind. And she said to the guy, do you do your lot? In other words, you are the Kalahari bushman. Do you ever get eaten by lions? She said, because you can always hear of the tourists being eaten by lions. And the bushman turned to her and said, only when we're drunk. So again, it's that survival mode. It's being in the moment. It's being present. And the best actors are always present. There's nothing that takes that control away from them. They're not looking inward. They're not looking outward. They're in the moment. And that, I think, is a really, really good lesson for all of us, is to live our lives in the present, to live our lives in the second circle. I hope that makes sense to you. It certainly makes sense to me. I will put the link to her video in the comments as well later on, because I think it's really worth watching. Because I think as well, you know, it's quite, I don't know, I like people. I like people watching. I should have done a psychology degree, I think, because I'm interested in people. But sometimes you can look at people and you can see where they are. You can see which circle they're in. So now, when you're out and about, have a look. Look at the people that are in the first circle, looking inwardly, and spot the people, politicians maybe at the moment, and spot the people that are in the third circle, that are out there. They're talking, they're not listening, they're striding. It's all in the chest and in the body. Have a look, because I'd be really, really interested in knowing what you think about that. If you've got any comments on that, or if you'd like to put anything, add anything to that, then please put a comment in now. If you're watching the replay, then again, you are more than welcome to add a comment to that, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. So with that bit done, I'm now going to share with you my news. What is it? I mean, it's kind of a little bit sad too, because I have come to the decision that it's time to bring Speaking About Speaking to an end. To an end in this particular format. So after today, I have one more Speaking About Speaking next Tuesday with the fabulous Fab Giovanetti, who will be on with me next week, but she will be my last guest for this present time. I'm then going to take a break over the summer for July and August to rethink what Speaking About Speaking and what the podcast could possibly be. But I'd like to run some stuff past you because this is very much an experiment and a suck it and see kind of thing. And I'd really like to know what you think. I mean, for Speaking About Speaking, I've had some fabulous guests. I've had a lot of fun, but it feels like it's run its course and it's time for a bit of a shake-up. So I'm looking at a new format, a new vision, and a different focus, I think. But this will coincide with a further development of the Speak Like a Speaker brand, which obviously encompasses the Speaker Club too. Again, it's very experimental. And it's very much about you guys, the audience, my audience out there, those of you that feel like they're stuck but recognize that you have this desire to speak comfortably and confidently to your audience. So if you feel you're that person, that you're frightened, a little bit worried about putting yourself out there, and if you want to get yourself excited about stepping onto a stage, if you're a bit fearful about being vulnerable, but you're understanding that if you don't take this step, you miss great opportunities to grow yourself and your business, then maybe this next incarnation will be for you. But I'd love your input. I'd love to find out what you think this could be. So on July the 16th at 2 p.m, I am going to be running a live Zoom call, basically, of what I think I would like the next incarnation of the podcast to be. And it'll be a 45 minutes. It will be weekly again. As far as I know, as I say, this is subject to change, but at the moment, these are my thoughts. It'll be a space, a Zoom call, so I can invite as many people in. I'm thinking if we, 20, 25 is probably maximum so that everybody gets a bit of space. But it will be a Zoom call that will be live streamed. And within that 45 minutes, there'll be learning from me. There'll be a warm up, of course. There'll be learning from me. I'm hoping there will be an opportunity maybe to bring in some guests at that point, so that, we can do a 10-minute Q&A interview kind of session within that 45 minutes too. And then I'm hoping that there will be, like there is in the room in real life speaker club, there'll be an opportunity for you guys to step up and do some speaking of your own. If you wanted to bring along something that you're working on for some feedback, if you just want some practice, in the in-person speaker club, I have lucky dip questions. I like to call the hot seat, and you have a minute, you pick a question randomly and you have a minute to answer the question. It just gives you the opportunity to exercise those speaking muscles. And if there's any time left at the end, there'll obviously be a Q&A, an opportunity for you to ask questions. So that's the idea so far. So that's July the 16th at 2 o'clock. That is a Tuesday. So I thought I'd keep it to a Tuesday. I'm hoping it will be weekly, but what I'd like to do with the July the 16th, that will be a little bit of a one-off, just to test it, just to test the water. And then I will bring it back in full swing, hopefully hit the ground running in September. But again, this is all a little bit experimental. So bear with me, but please do come along on July the 16th, bring along anybody that you think would benefit as well. And there will be, again, a learning session, a little bit of a warm up, perhaps a guest, an opportunity for you to bring something that you're working on, to speak to an audience, just to get those speaking muscles working. So that's me. That's my time done for today. Again, just to remind you, there is one more Speaking About Speaking left with the fabulous Fab Chief Marketing Rebel, Fab Giovanetti, will be with me next week. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And just to say, if you want to get in contact with me, then you can go to powertospeak.co.uk and you can find out about all the services there. You can subscribe. Let me get rid of that one and put that one up there. This is the subscription. Oh, no, it's not. If you go into the comments, you can find the subscribe to get the free download, which you can do there. We can show that one, I think. That's the subscribepage.io/speak with confidence. And that's to get your free download of the Speaking with Confidence 101 PDF. So you can go there, and that will then sign you up to the newsletter too. So you can kill two birds with one stone if you like. But obviously both of those are in the comments too. If you're watching on the replay and you've got any questions, then please add them to the comments and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But for now, have a fabulous rest of the week, and I will see you this time next week. Bye-bye for now.